Today, I'm going to show you how we can use the built-in lookout feature in Lens to help us detect changes automatically on the landscapes that you monitor. In this case, we're looking at an area in Northeast Australia that's had a lot of development from wind farms in the last couple of years. This is an area that otherwise had been pretty undeveloped. So we can see, looking at these before and after images over the last 3 years, there's been quite a lot of change here from these small roads and turbine pads. If we zoom in, we're looking right now at publicly available imagery that we have in Lens that comes in every 5 days. So it's really helpful for us to be able to see some of these changes in nearly real time. Now, just looking at the imagery, obviously this is helpful to be able to see that change, but something that's even more useful, I think, is when we can be alerted of those changes when we didn't know to investigate. So the way we do this is that we actually use a different version of this same data. So over here, I'm going to grab the vegetation index from Sentinel-2. And again, this is data that comes in every 5 days. So we can really easily see the seasonal fluctuations in things like vegetation cover. So here you'll see where we have low vegetation is going to be these sort of white and orange colors, and then high vegetation figure in these darker greens. So what's really cool about this is a quantified index, which means we can really measure the changes very cleanly from one time point to the next. We can use that in this lookout tool. So to show you what that looks like, I can click into the lookouts over here, and you'll see a couple of these where we've had these unseasonal vegetation drops that were detected. I can create my own policies here for a lookout as well, which tell the tool what exactly I'm concerned about and how to monitor for that. So with any of these available data sets, in this case, maybe I'm interested in something like fire. I might want to know with this burn index, when we're hitting above a certain value on this index, on let's say at least 10% of that property, I want to know as soon as that happens, and we can set that up very easily. In this case, we have a few that are ready to go, so let's take a look at them. Here's one example. Vegetation drop was detected between these two dates. So we see this just about year over year comparison. That helps us to piece together that, yes, it looks like there was another road that was extended right over here. These areas in red are where Lookout is telling us that the machine learning algorithm behind it has identified a potential area that was affected. If I come over to the next site on our list, here's another case. Again, those areas in red are really picking up those pads where the turbines are being installed. So here, let's zoom in a little bit to this one. We can piece together the history here with even more detail by using our analysis tool. So what I can do is I can just draw a small boundary right around that area and look at the vegetation and how that's changed in, say, the last 5 years. So with that high frequency of data, we have so many data points that we can plot out very quickly here. And prior to, it looks like about the end of 2023, we had pretty normal seasonal variation in the vegetation, and it's totally bottomed out since. So it really helps us to tell the story of what happened before we came along and had noticed that there was a change. Now, it's really helpful here to use this kind of data that just we cannot see with our own eye what vegetation looks like in this way, but we can complement this with other kinds of data as well. So here's a small sample of some high resolution imagery that I ordered. And in this case, if we zoom in, we can get even more detail about some of these structures. So that huge wind turbine right there, you can see it in comparison to some of the vehicles on the ground. It's very large. But same idea. Let's say I want to know when that one had been created. I can come back to our analysis tool over here and start that again. Select our pad right here and look over that same date range. And here we go. Looks like this one was cleared a little bit earlier than the one we were taking a look at before. This appears to have taken place in, looks like between middle of July and early August of 2022. And I can go back and get any of those different vegetation sensings. And there we go. We can see when that clearing actually began. So there's a lot we can do with the lookout tool that helps us, again, to detect changes we might not even know to look for on the places that we protect. So looking forward to hearing what you think about how these automated change detection tools can be helpful for the places that you monitor.